Good evening. Welcome to the Needham Zoning Board of Appeals for June 12th, 2025. We are being cablecast on the Needham channel, and we're on Zoom at this particular point. First thing on our agenda are the minutes for the May 15th meeting. Board members, Howard and Peter, if you would vote on this. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Next up, the application of Jeffrey Gaiman and Andrea Gaiman at 99 Whitman Road. They're applying for a special permit to allow for one additional enclosed garage space within the accessory cabana pool house currently under construction under section 6.12 and other applicable sections of the bylaw. And the property is located in the single residence SRA zoning district. Good evening. Please introduce yourself, your address, your connection to the case, and direct everything to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. George Genta Jr., attorney, appearing this evening on behalf of the applicant. And with me is Jeff Gaiman. Is he right next to me?
Owner, 99 Whitman Road.
So as indicated, this is an application for a extra garage space at 99 Whitman Road. The property is identified as parcel 15 on Assessor's Map 305 in the single residence A or acre zoning district. The lot itself has an acre of land with 235.46 feet of frontage on Whitman Road, so it's a conforming lot. Now, the lot is currently occupied by a single-family house, a pool, and a cabana / pool house that are all currently under construction. And those structures were all authorized under a series of different building permits that were issued starting in October of 2023. The most recent one for the pool house cabana was issued August 1st, 2024. Now, the cabana / pool house was originally approved for construction with a 6-foot wide by 8-foot high door on the east side, the side facing Whitman Road. This is located at the end, really, of the driveway. The house that's under construction includes a 3-car garage, which is a side entry garage accessed off of that same driveway. The first floor on the east side of the cabana / pool house is a large open storage area. And as I said, already, as approved, the cabana pool house will have doors to enter into that large storage area. However, the Gaimans would like to change out the doors to access that area to provide better access and to specifically provide the ability to store a boat inside that storage area. In order to do that, they need a much larger door, and in particular, a door that would be 10 feet wide by 8 foot 9 inches high. So no change to the structure, no change to the layout, no change to the floor plan, no change to anything other than changing the doors from the 6 foot wide, 8 foot high to 10 foot wide, 8 foot 9 inches high.
How long is the bay?
Contact the side this week.
How big a boat?
It's a 20-foot whaler.
A 20-foot whaler, so 24.
About 24, almost 25 feet deep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got a tongue that swings so I can fit it in there. The request for the width for the 10 feet is because the trailer itself is almost 9 feet.
Right.
You need a little wiggle room to be able to get it in there. But we'd like to store it in there versus keeping it outside in the driveway.
So as I mentioned, the house already has a 3-car garage. So as a result, the only way to have put this door in, because the door makes this storage area a garage space under the bylaw, so the only way to do it is under section 6.1.2, be a special permit for a 1 additional garage space.
So 3 is permitted in the zoning district, and 4 would be the addition.
Exactly. Section 6.1.2 has several different criteria, and this clearly meets all of them. The first one is whether the premises will be reasonably adaptable to the additional garage space. In this case, it's just a changing of doors, so I don't know how it could not be reasonably adaptable to just change out the doors. Whether the premise will allow proper layout, including adequate separation of buildings and structures. The building is allowed by right. It complies with all setback, all dimensional, all density requirements. Changing the door doesn't affect any of that. So I would submit that the premises does allow for proper layout. Whether it will alter the character of the premises, in this case, there's not going to be any change to the use of the premises. The premises to be used for single-family residential purposes. The building, the cabana / pool house, is to be used as an accessory building in connection with the pool house and for storage. That's all consistent with an accessory structure for single-family use. So therefore, the character of the premises will not be altered. Whether it will have any material adverse effect on the values of land, buildings, or structures adjacent, I would say, if anything, storing a boat inside a structure as opposed to outside will actually enhance or improve values. It certainly,
In some subdivisions, it's prohibited
Right.
from allowing boats to store outside.
and in fact, that's exactly one of the reasons why it's often prohibited, is because there's a perception that it lowers the values.
Shrink wrap boats are not attractive.
No, I agree.
And then last is whether or not the additional garage space will produce noise, odors, or glare observable at the lot lines. Changing these doors to allow for larger doors to be able to put better storage or put the boat inside is not going to create any noise, odors, or glare in any way that is different from its typical customary single-family residential use.
Can I ask a question? And not that I'm opposed, some of these third-car bays, four-car bays are the most controversial things we've had. But is there any provision to treat this as storage space for a boat rather, or is it the trailer creates the need for a garage? I just asked the question.
If I understand your question correctly,
That you wouldn't need the special permit because you just get storage space and you're throwing a boat that's not a motor vehicle on.
so my understanding is because the size of the door would allow you to put a vehicle inside, that makes it a garage space. Even if the intention is to put a boat in there, let's say the Gaymans 5 years from now decide to sell and somebody else comes along and they say, oh, I can put my car in there. So now it becomes,
Except if it's limited to 20-foot whalers.
except I don't think the building department can put that restriction on the building permit. And I've had this come up in other instances with barns that were clearly intended for like a tractor storage and for yard storage, and unfortunately, this is one of the ones that came before the board a couple of years ago was specifically for that, and it was because it was a large enough door that you could get a vehicle in. The determination was that therefore that made it a garage space, even though it was like the barn was away from really anything, and it was, you could tell there was no driveway or anything leading up to it, but because of the size of the door, it made it so you could put a car in. That made the area inside a garage space, so therefore the determination was it was a garage.
Well, you remember, maybe a year or two, there was a proposal to allow this as a matter of right, and it didn't go anywhere with withdrawn because it seems, modern society with multiple cars. But anyway, thank you.
The final thing I will do is I'm just going to show you, and these were these were filed with the application. They should be either distributed to you electronically or in your packet. So we've got one that shows the approved, right? And the other one that shows with the larger door. And certainly at the distance you all are from me, I'd wonder if you could even really tell much of the difference, if,
Well, so,
yeah.
Do you have any photos of what's happening now? Just,
Let's see, I have,
I have a photo of the proposed door.
I'm more looking at how the house looks and where the carriage house is in the pool house.
I have a video. You have a recent order.
I have one from,
There's a,
You can ask a question.
no, I'm just saying, I mean, this will show you.
Yeah, it doesn't do it from, I have like color.
George, let me ask you a question. Has there been any inquiry from the neighbors?
So that's,
yep.
and the 3 bays right here. Got it. Everybody take a look. It's a very useful picture. 3 bays, that's the house.
Any discussion with the neighbors?
So my understanding is nobody's reached out, nobody's contacted Jeff, so And they don't, obviously, because it's under construction, they don't actually live there. And they took title to the property and construction basically started shortly thereafter. So they haven't lived at the property, so they haven't had any interaction with it.
Let me read into the record some comments from municipal boards and agencies. The building inspector, building commissioner with a new logo, Needham logo on it, has no concerns. Planning department had no comment. The fire department had no issues. The public health division has no comments to share. Public Works have no comment or objection about the additional parking spot. And we didn't get anything from the police? Correct. Is anyone in the room here to speak for, against, or comment on the application? Is anyone out in the world on Zoom interested to speak on the application? At that point, okay, anyone on the board have a question for the applicant or council?
I inquired about the neighbors, if there hasn't been any feedback, there's nobody here. This seems like a modest modification, and I like how it's all contained within the property line. That picture was helpful to get a sense on where things were, so this seems reasonable, in my opinion.
Anybody else? Okay, would you like to vote on this? Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing. We've deliberated. I think it's a fine process, application, looks good. Boats shrink wrap, I personally don't like them, and it costs a lot to store at the marina, so I think it's, Whaler's a small boat, good boat, beautiful boat. So anyway, entertain a motion?
Yep, I'd like to raise a motion to approve one additional enclosed garage space within the accessory cabana pool house currently under construction under section 6.1.2 and any other applicable sections of the bylaw for 99 Whitman Road.
Thank you.
Okay, I would second that, motion for special permit.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this point, we'll take a 2-minute recess, and we'll convene for the next public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for highlighting this change of logo.
It's beautiful. So I'm going to pass you to the gavel and the pad of paper if you want it. And the executive decision.
The holy hand grenade?
Yes, yes, yes. Do you want to go out golfing someday? All right, I'll give you a call.
I hit from the forward tees.
George, did you send me the copy?
Red?
Oh, yeah.
I like to
No, I
draw.
hit in front of the red, I hit from the yellow. I had given them to, no, they were originally? Yeah, I had a ton.
Good to see you. Have a good,
You did a great job.
It's very, very detailed.
have a good 4th of July. Have a good 4th of
well, yeah,
July.
Thank you, John, you too.
I'll talk to you, get us some new dates,
I will.
All right.
and you can send me that.
Take care, John.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I will put that there.
See you, George.
Done?
This is the only other.
Okay, so we're gonna reconvene after a brief recess. Good evening. Welcome to our friends at 339 Chestnut Street. This is a continuance from May 15th. We have circulated a,
Wait,
are we live? And so, did you hear what I said? Anyhow, so welcome back. This is the application for 339 Chestnut Street. It's a continuance from May 15th. We have worked diligently on an opinion and it's circulated to the applicant and his counsel. And we're here today to engage on a conversation about a proposed opinion for this comprehensive permit request. Good evening, George. Nice to see you.
See you all again. So long. Right, so since the last meeting, there's been a draft decision issued. We have also tweaked the plan slightly to incorporate the comments and the items that were discussed last time around. And most notably, and one of the things when we get to the actual draft decision, it's one of my comments in there, is we've looked at the plan and we have come to the conclusion that we can cheat a little bit in the front and slide the columns in front of the building back by up to a foot to create a very narrow strip at the front to be able to put in some form of pavers or cobblestones or some sort of a textured material, rather than doing a Cape Cod berm, which is what we had discussed at the last meeting. We think that that would be better. Initially, we were thinking about having it be a raised.
I'm sorry, so George, just to be clear, so you're suggesting that this extra foot of land is closest to the road?
Yes.
And in that area, this new area, that you would create some type of a raised surface, or can you repeat what you said?
Yes. So we had talked previously about doing a Cape Cod berm there, which would be sort of a slight rise in the asphalt to create sort of a lip.
Some delineation so
Yes.
people on the street and the sidewalk wouldn't collide from time to time? Yes.
Right. So after that hearing, Matt noticed at the, I think he actually noticed at the golf club, the Needham Golf Club, the paving stones that line the landscaped island in the parking area. And the conclusion was, hey, maybe we can do something like that. So we looked at it, and the design end of things just decided that, yeah, we can tweak, we can cheat a little bit and push the columns back and get up to a foot to be able to put these in. So initially, when we were talking about it, I think the concept was that maybe they'd be raised up a little bit, so there'd be a bit of a lip. But Scott, who you may remember, Scott Melching, our project architect, pointed out, and I think astutely, that if you have that, there's a very good likelihood somebody is going to trip on that and fall flat on their face. So rather than have them actually be raised, the suggestion would be to have it be a textured surface that is flush with the ground, so that walking, driving, whatever, you feel a change in texture, and you can also visually see the change in texture and change in color. So we would propose doing maybe that instead of doing the Cape Cod berm, because then even the Cape Cod berm has that same issue of possibly somebody tripping over it and falling.
That seems reasonable, but okay, so that's the only change to this,
So that's the only material change to the plans. Everything else is what's already been discussed and incorporated in.
George, how is it that noted on, here's right, just help us walk us through this revision. So it says town sidewalk, flush granite curb, parking, what is it, how is it telling us that this is a textured surface?
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily say that here, but certainly you could include something to that effect in the decision to say that it be a textured surface.
Granite can have a couple of textures. It can be a smooth finish. It can have a different, more marbled finish. It can have a textured finish. Be happy to have that spec'd out on the specific sort of curb that we would put in.
So is it a curb or is it a flat surface?
So the best way to think about this is when you're crossing the street and the curb kind of folds down so that people can roll up, they don't step up at an intersection crossing. That's basically what we're proposing, where the curb goes flush, but it still separates either an asphalt street from a cobblestone sidewalk or from an asphalt street from a concrete sidewalk, where it just folds down and becomes flush. The building code has a lot of things in it about tripping hazards, and I just felt that a raised surface here where no one was expecting it, even if we painted it yellow, would be a tripping hazard, and that would put my client at risk for people falling on his property. So I'd prefer to see this be a flush.
Makes sense. So you're calling it a granite textured surface?
Yes,
So the granite itself will have texture but be flush with the pavement?
correct, yes.
All right, so that's the only substantive item on our side. And now, if you like, I do have several comments on the draft decision. A number of them are relatively minor in nature. A few of them were really just clarifications. But if you want, we can walk through those. I don't know if you've seen them.
Sure, so we're just looking at them a few minutes ago, but it looks like the first one's on page 3.
Yes, yes,
And so-
and I'll just, I'll explain each of these as we go along. So, the area median income at the time of the start of the project, establishes what the maximum rent can be, but obviously the area median income is going to change over time. So these numbers, for example, aren't going to be accurate 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So I was just wanted to, I was suggesting we just clarify that it's based on current AMI.
What's the effect of the market rate rents that are in that letter?
Not sure, what do you mean by effect?
The market rate is, I assume those numbers don't mean anything because market rate units will be
They get whatever the
rented for
market.
whatever the
rate-
market is.
Right,
Mm.
right.
That's why I wonder whether we even want that final sentence in that paragraph, because it seems misleading.
I have one comment on the fourth page, whenever it's convenient for you.
That was in the letter from,
Yeah, no, I know, but they're not setting the market rate.
Right, right. It's just the affordable units.
Yeah, no, they're doing that so that there's a comparison between that and the affordable.
So you're saying, Peter, we don't need to say rent for the market would be X. We don't have to get into that.
Yeah, I don't think that we do. I mean, the letter from EOHLC stands on its own.
And the focus is on what the rent for the affordable
That's
units
what we
would
care
be.
about here, yeah, we don't care
So,
what the market.
so striking rent
Yeah, so
for
that
the
would take
market,
a
yeah.
lot of sense out.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
thought maybe it has some other magical significance.
Then moving over to page, the next page, 4, it looks like you have a comment there.
And before my comment, Scott has a comment on the paragraph above it, so I'll let him.
Yep, I apologize, I did not send this in advance. The sentence that starts, "The project, though only 6,234 square feet."
What page, 3?
Correct. No, page 4, just right ahead of,
The first full paragraph at the top of the page.
The mechanicals will be located?
That paragraph.
correct, yes. If you go down just over halfway, there's a sentence that starts, "The project, though only 6,234 square feet." My concern and what I would like to strike is meets the standard energy requirements of a 12,000 square foot building. I believe this was said during the introduction of this building that, you know, there are certain energy standards for buildings above this, and there are certain energy standards for buildings below that threshold. This implies a passive house building, which we are not.
Applies to what?
A passive house building, which we are not.
Passive house, what does that mean? Passive house building?
If you are above 12,000 square feet and you are doing a commercial building right now, the only way to meet to meet the energy code in Massachusetts for this type of building is a passive house building, meaning you submit to a group that has an energy standard that they apply to your building, and you have to comply with their 1,000 things. And that while we are doing the spirit of that, we are not offering to do that on this project. So I just would like to strike out meets the standard energy requirements of a 12,000 square foot building.
Will you substitute anything, or is the sentence just going to be the 7 words?
Well, it's not a sentence. The project, though only 6,200
6,234 square
period is missing something.
Will be energy efficient.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I don't want to tie my owner to something
Okay,
that
sure.
he is not.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
you're just the project. The 6,200 project will meet the standards.
Will
Be energy efficient.
will be energy efficient.
The project will be energy efficient.
Thank you.
All right. Then, George, moving over to the red lines in the next paragraph.
Yep, this is really just a clarification of this whole issue with how the bylaw was recodified. I struggled to really explain it, would probably take like 3 more paragraphs, but I tried to pare it down and just kind of try and make it as concise as I could. But I did want to make sure that it was clear that there wasn't any actual intent when they recodified the bylaw other than to just republish and recodify. So they had a bunch of different provisions that had been added in, and they hadn't actually republished and recollected everything. So they did that, and when they did that, they shuffled the bylaw and caused the problem.
So the last, at the end there, it was, so as a result of the recodification, it was silent on all others.
Right.
Others, I mean all others.
Commercial, industrial, and all the different subsets.
All other
Other than the
properties.
residential.
Okay, sure. Okay. and there's a lot of separation until you
You know,
next.
it's always a good decision when you have to go many pages before you get to the next edit.
We're certainly well-written, George.
All right, so then the next one, I guess, is on page 12, at least the next one I have on.
Yes, correct.
Page 12, item number 11, or paragraph 11, applicant will conform to the lender's limited dividend policy as defined in the Chapter 40B Regulatory and Affordable House Agreement. And I actually, there's another edit I just noticed. So it the word lenders in that first line should probably be taken out. So it'd just be the limited dividend policy as defined in Chapter 40B. And then the very end of that, the reference to MHP. I had to actually ask Daphne because MHP wasn't called out and defined anywhere else
Yeah,
anywhere in the
that's why-
document.
that's why.
And I figured it was a carryover maybe from a prior project. I figured it was probably the Mass Housing Partnership,
Yeah.
which has no role in this project because this is a LIP project. It's not being financed through the Mass Housing Partnership. They're not participating. It's just the town, the state through DHCD/EOHLC, and then the lenders actually just regular funds. Because it's a LIP project, it qualifies as a subsidized project that way. So the funds can come from any lender, just like a regular commercial lender. So thence, the reference to lender should be taken out, and MHP should be, I suggested that it should be the monitoring agent, but actually, upon further review, it should actually be DHCD or EOHLC or the Commonwealth. Any one of those three would work, because it's the municipality, the developer, and the state that sign the regulatory agreement.
Is it the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
Yes.
It seems reasonable. Okay, board members? All right.
So do you have that on, do you have that on number 9 as well?
Further on?
Page 15.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then next up on my list is on page 13, item number 21. So this is the, what we were talking about to start with respect to the Cape Cod berm. And when I wrote this, this was before we had the internal discussions about doing this textured surface idea. So I was thinking of another raised edge, such as block pavers or whatever. So if the board would like to provide flexibility, that's fine. That's the way I originally wrote it. But if you also want to just specifically reference a textured concrete or textured surface, that would be fine as well.
So we'll put the applicant will construct a granite textured surface or other raised edge such as but not limited to block pavers or cobblestones.
So I would not say raised edge.
Yeah.
Take raised down.
I would say, or other, or you say granite, textured surface, granite or other suitable material.
Such as but not limited to block pavers, or take that out too?
You could take that all out.
Okay, so the applicant will construct a textured surface, comma, granite or other suitable materials along the outer edge of the parking space.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, then all the rest of it. And then next is page 15, item number 9. Again, it's the reference to MHP that should be Commonwealth of Mass or DHCD or EOHLC should be, one of those should be
All right,
substituted.
so it will be consistent with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Okay, that's two, please.
DHCD still around, or?
And you know,
That's why Mass Housing Partnership was there, and I was talking to our housing coordinator, and she, because these names have changed and the acronyms have changed, and so,
yeah, it's interesting because, I thought that DHCD no longer existed, but then some of the materials that the state has out there
haven't changed
still
it.
officially says DHCD, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Hence why I suggested JCD, EOHLC, or Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah, we'll just use those.
Do the Commonwealth, then that's the
We
catch-all.
know that they should be around over the next several years. Okay. Now, George, at 15, you're changing the hours of operation from
Oh.
7 to,
Wait a second, before we get to that, yes, but before we get to that, that same issue with MHP shows up again in items 12 and 13.
so we're going to change that to Commonwealth of Massachusetts, yes.
Yes, now, hours of construction, because this is a commercial property in the middle of a commercial district, I noted, the hours of 9 to 5 for construction, you would typically see that maybe if you were adjacent to residential districts, or there's some need for sensitivity, but, I mean, really, it's all businesses around there, and if anything, you'd want to get the construction done sooner, quicker, to have less impact on the commercial area. We're suggesting 7 to 7, consistent with the general noise bylaw hours, for construction.
So can we get
I
clarification?
I spoke to the building commissioner specifically about that, and he said that based on the general bylaws of the town, under 3.8.1, it's the limited hours are from 7 AM to 8 PM, and he was fine with that change. And that there is no restriction in terms of the day, so if it could be every day, 7 days a week, because it's a commercial area, and on Sundays it would be quiet. So he said he was comfortable with that. Leaving, there will be no construction unless necessary to deal with an emergency. He felt that was there in case that an emergency would come up, then, he would restrict it. But other than that, if you guys were comfortable, he was comfortable with the general laws.
Okay,
So with that, I would ask that you make it 7 AM to 8 PM, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Just to provide, I don't think, Matt didn't raise any issue with the Sunday, he's not planning, I don't think, of doing any construction on Sundays, but I'd rather have him have full flexibility and,
But, so is that right? They allow construction on Sundays?
Here it is, and this is what the building commissioner, he referred to was General Law 3.8.1. It doesn't specify the dates, but he said that if the board was comfortable, if you wanted to restrict it, he would be open to it. Again,
I'm sorry, what's the paragraph number, 381?
3.8.1.
So what, behind this is Needham Oil? And what about Needham Oil?
so you've got Needham Oil, you've got the bank, you've got Dr. Bijan, his office, that also has 4 other users in there. Then Costas is next to him.
Right.
McDonald's across the street, YMCA.
There were some concerns about the hospital. Somebody brought that up, but not the building commissioner.
Although the hospital's fair distance away.
So George, I would fine with 7 AM to 8 PM Monday through Saturday. I'm reluctant to, this is to me ambiguous. It's not clear whether Sunday is included. I've never seen construction, maybe it's my naivety, on a Sunday. And since you hadn't asked for it originally, I think that's a fair compromise.
And as I said, I mean, Matt didn't seem to have any issue with not doing work on the Sunday, so.
Day of rest, okay. And you do have provision about unless necessary to deal with an emergency, so that would perhaps be where Sunday would become relevant.
They're on Sundays.
Okay.
All right, and that's it.
All right, so is the board in general agreement with these discussed changes? Yes. Okay. All right, so now, is it appropriate, I wanted to take a formal vote? Have a motion and then a formal vote on this approval? What did we do at the last meeting? What was, did we take a vote?
No, we
Just
just
only
ended
close the-
deliberation.
Yeah, you would deliberate.
All right, so we would entertain a motion for this application.
All right then. I move that the board issue a comprehensive permit under MGL Chapter 40B sections 20 through 23, and 760 CMR 56.00 to allow the development of 6 rental units consisting of 1 one-bedroom and 5 two-bedroom units with 8 parking spaces. 2 of the units will be affordable, with the form of the decision to be that which was reviewed and approved by the board at our meeting today.
And may we also have the plan substitution?
That'll be reflected in the,
Yeah. And also, again, what happened today, that what transpired today will also be reflected in the decision. So all of those changes will be, that have been approved and discussed today will be included.
Okay, that's a fair motion. Is there a second to that?
Yes, I will second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, say nay. Congratulations by unanimous. This comprehensive permit has been approved. Thank you both for your diligence in presentment.
Thank you very much.
Clarification. Good luck.
All right.
So when do you hope to start construction?
I have a feeling he'll want to go as soon as possible, but there's still a few different steps to iron out in the regulatory agreement.
Yep, yep. Okay, great. Well, thank you both.
does he have the final building plans?
No,
Figured that too.
no point.
They hate paying for those before they have the zoning relief.
Don't you
huh?
know it?
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Thanks for getting all those. Oh, the door, oh, that was one thing, the doors, the wood door versus was that going to be switched over? The gate, not the gates.
Oh, on the outside, on the left side?
Because remember where the wood gate would
Privacy versus the
follow,
security.
right, would follow
we,
the trash.
Matt and I didn't have a chance to discuss that. We should have, because that will affect things.
Okay. So now the meeting is officially adjourned. Good night.
No, I thought we had adjourned. Good night. Thank you, you too.